Welcome to the Josh Bolton Show, where we dive into interesting and inspiring conversations. And now, your host, Josh Bolton.
So I'm curious, before we even get started, why do you are talking about specifically working from home in a post-pandemic world?
So I've had this company for 15 years, right?
Okay.
And we've always been work from home. And for 15 years.
Yeah.
And, so when the pandemic happened, we were like, oh, we got this. and we're a consulting firm and we consult in healthcare IT and we do all of this consulting. And all of a sudden, all of our clients were asking us, well, how do you manage your, employees? And it was all these like work from home type questions that we had never really gotten before because nobody ever really wanted to even, I think about having their employees work from home. But when they were forced to, it brought that up. And we've seen a lot of our clients start reducing their footprints and, getting rid of leases and things like that. And I think there's so much value to be had and work from home. So I run a tech company, so we do IT consulting, right?
Okay.
And I always get asked, so my top tier of my management is all women. So we are a woman-owned, woman-run tech company. And people are like, how do you do that? How have you managed that? And I think a large part of it is that we've been flexible. We've had work from home. And so I kind of wanted to just really advocate for this idea that people should keep work from home if at all possible, because we have found so much value in it. Now, I think you need to have certain fail safes and you need to be thoughtful about it. I think when people went originally to work from home, they just you didn't have time to plan, right? It was like when our kids went home from school, there was zero time to plan and put in a plan in place. And I think now is the time to start planning how you're going to build that work from home methodology, what worked, what didn't work, and come up with like a creative way to do it, because you get so much benefit from it. I don't see us going back, especially when you work in tech. They say, oh, Google, Facebook, they're still going to buy into it. I don't believe it. I think you're going to have a hard time getting employees to go back into the office, to be quite frank. We're already starting to see it at our clients.
Yeah, I would say my mom in the other room, she's now working from home permanently because they're like, it's cheaper. We don't have all the insurance rules. Plus, all we got to do is make sure you have your computer and your Bluetooth kind of thing. Just make sure you're working.
Right. Yeah. And think about that, right? One of the biggest expenses as a corporation is rent.
And insurance.
Yeah. And when you cut that out.
Oh, you're saving so much money.
And you can give it to your employees.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It allows you to have higher salaries. It allows you to have better benefit packages. There's so many added values from that perspective, even from a cost savings perspective. People have always been like, well, how do you have such higher margins? Well, you cut out things like rent.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. It was, I do martial arts, and my instructor said his biggest overhead when he was at his prime was his rent. Cause he's like, that was $20,000 a month I had to owe for my commercial place. And he's like, now with my new place, it's $2,000. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, shit. Yeah. You're just not balling the money kind of thing. He's like, yeah, rent's a bitch. You shouldn't have to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah. And we're already paying it in our houses. So
yeah.
Right.
So I'm curious, I'm just going to run it as is.
Sure.
How do you make sure your employees are let's say you hired a new employee. How do you make sure they're actually doing the job they're hired for compared to logging in and kind of moving their mouse every 2 minutes?
Right. No, that's a good question. I would say I've learned my lesson over the years.
Okay.
And we actually use Time Doctor, and it's screen capturing software that monitors habits. And I am very upfront with my employees. So number one, we work in healthcare, so we have to worry about HIPAA. So it blurs the screen enough that it's not, I think it gives our employees privacy. I can't read exactly what their emails say or their text or, whatever is on the screen, especially for patient privacy issues and all kinds of things there too. But it lets me know, is the keyboard moving? Is the mouse moving? Are they at their desk? I can tell like what applications are open. It can tell me like, hey, they spent 3 hours on Facebook, on YouTube. It'll tell you like what, and you can rank productivity apps and things like that. So is it non-productive or productive time? And you can even group it. So like maybe for my, my operations staff who's recruiting, LinkedIn makes sense, right?
Right.
But for my employees who should be working, LinkedIn should not make sense to be on there for 3 hours. And maybe that should be like a red flag for us.
Yeah.
So we've had that for a couple of years, and that has actually helped us because we have been bitten a little bit by people who aren't working. But you can turn it on and off. You control it. We're very upfront with our employees about it. I will say, like, I'm all about privacy with my own employees. Like, I don't really want to be watched personally. So I was like really afraid to take that step because I found it intrusive. And but when I did, people were like, "Oh, this is not a big deal." I think I was more afraid to take it than they were to actually do it.
I'm curious because there's a lot of bosses I've talked to about work from home. Do you incorporate a webcam to see if they're actually there too?
No.
Okay. That was the only one.
I can't go that far. I'm not going that far.
That was one of those. I even told the person, like, you must not trust him because they have the mic running and the camera mic. That's
creepy.
At least the software to see what they're doing on the dash of the computer. Yes. Kind of thing. It's like, you're not there, but this is a way to check over their shoulder without being creepy. Like, you want to hear them, see them, and watch them as they're doing all that. I'm like, that's just weird. I wouldn't even work for you.
Like, I don't have exactly. You wouldn't work for somebody like that. You're not going to get quality employees who want that. Right. Right. And I try never to do something I wouldn't want done to me. Like, I think that's a good rule of business in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to run a company.
It is.
And it's super intrusive. Like, and at some level, you just have to trust your employees. And personally, I never really go to the website and look at what they're doing unless I suspect there is an issue. The meetings you're on with them, you always hear car noises or they just don't seem to be replying to emails in the way that you would expect somebody who's sitting at their desk, right? You get clues. And then once you start getting the clues, then you go look at the website and you're like, oh, okay. I get what's going on now. And when that happens, we show them. And by the way, they have a login and they can see everything we see. So there's not like, I see something different.
Right.
And so, we'll log in a one-on-one, their manager or whatever, or our HR people, and they'll be like, hey, so we've noticed, can you not figure out the software? We try to take I always try to assume positive intent first. But at some point you have to just kind of take corrective action.
Yeah, you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Once, maybe twice happened, but the third time is like, no. What's going on here?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You actually pointed out in an awesome way how you're predominantly women-based owners or managers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that strategic or it just worked out that way?
Completely worked out that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a woman engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only girl in my graduating class. So I have my degree in computer engineering. And one of the things that actually attracted me to healthcare IT was there seems to be predominantly more women than kind of your traditional tech firms. Okay. Because you'll see women who are in health IT be nurses, there's a lot, and there's a lot more women leadership in healthcare in general than I think in the greater business area. And so healthcare sort of attracted me from that perspective. And so I went into healthcare IT. But I think women like working for women. A lot of times, if you ask women, you'll go, why did you take that job? And they'll be like, I wanted a woman mentor. I remember my first job out of college, the reason I took the job is I interviewed with my boss and she was awesome. And she was so cool. And I was like, I want to work for this woman. I want to learn from her. And I want to, I just want to absorb that. And I want to learn that. And she actually ended up helping me set up my consulting firm and set up.
That's awesome.
Super awesome. And she was probably one of the most influential people in my entire life. And I tried to give that back to my employees. And so as I met other women who I really liked, and, who were really talented, I made sure they knew TempDev was a place for them. And hey, men too. But so it kind of just ended up this way. And I think we have a fair number of men too. I think we're like 60-40 women, men. So we have men.
Okay.
But it's just rare to find so many women in tech. And I think that they see it, and we often hear it in interviews. I went to your website, I looked at the page, I noticed how many women were on it, and I wanted to be there.
That's awesome. Yeah, birds of a feather flock together, and that's the perfect arena for that. That's cool. Yeah, it was just one of those. So in the different things I've been studying for business, it was like a book, but I don't know how to fully explain it. It's like Investing for Billionaires, or Believe in Women or something like that. And I listened to it because that's how I process my data. And it was one of those how they were explaining to actually advocate for more women in the C-suite area. And as I listened to it, then I listened to other people's perspective. I'm like, oh shit, it makes more sense to have a woman in that because they can process way more stuff. A man's like fight or flight. Is it elephant or is it not? If not, then just screw it. They keep going somewhere else. Compared to a woman, they can dissect everything really quick. And I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. And hearing it from you, it's like, okay, well, interesting. If I do start my own company, I'm definitely going to look into that arena.
I can't tell you, moms make the best employees. It's so strange to me because, when people talk about the gender pay gap, right? Mm-hmm. You'll hear, oh, well, women take time off to have baby. Like somebody else is supposed to do that. I don't know who else is supposed to take the time off to have the baby, right? You're going to have the baby. It makes zero sense to me how that is like a reasonable argument to have. Society, somebody has to do it. Yep. And pregnancy is tough. It's hard. There's my guy. But I think when you're a mom, you figure out how to multitask. Case in point.
I say case in point.
And you figure out how to keep a lot of balls in there. Okay, can you go watch TV? Thanks. You figure out how to keep all the balls in the air. And I think when you're managing projects, it's like sometimes herding cats. You know who's really good at that? Moms.
I would say moms.
You know who's really good at getting a bunch of people in a room and having them be really productive and not hurt each other's feelings?
Moms.
And it's so funny because I'm like, I don't know how you couldn't want this as part of your team or look down upon that or not, or because people are like, oh, well, they're off running, to get their kids at the doctor's appointments or taking care of their kids or whatever. And you're like, yeah, but then at night they're like working their butts off to catch up. Like, yeah, trust me, you're getting it in return.
You're getting that and then some in return.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your perspective on the flex schedule.
Yeah. So, okay. We, we're consultants, so I have to have a little bit of business decorum personally in my field, right? We're there to service our clients, and we provide pretty white glove, high end service.
Right.
That's our brand. So flex scheduling works at some level with us, but at the end of the day, it's hard to have somebody work, let's say, all night, because they need to be interacting with our clients who are working business hours. with that being said,
Yeah.
I had, like my COO, I don't think she'd mind me talking about this.
Okay.
She had twins, and her twins were in the NICU, which, by the way, twins often end up in the NICU, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, so she comes back, and we were really, we worked a lot about her scheduling, and she, so she would work a lot at nights because she would go spend in the NICU with her kids and everything. My COO doesn't have a lot of client interaction, right? It doesn't really matter when she invoices our clients or, like she does payroll or any of these things. It just matters that it happens. Why do I care if she's doing it at 10 o'clock at night or 10 a.m.? I don't care. Yeah. So I think where you can be flexible, be flexible. I don't think it's always an option, but I think you need to try to make it flexible. A lot of our people, this is a work from home thing, right?
Right.
I could take my kids to school and I could be at my desk at 8:15. Do you know who notices?
No one.
Like literally no one. Right?
Yeah.
No one. You know who notices when I come into an office at 8:15 and everybody else is there at 8? Everybody. Right? And so, but I'm like also working through lunch and everything. It's not like I'm not putting in the hours or putting in the effort, but I feel like you get so judged when you're in this office. Like, oh, there goes so-and-so taking her kids to the pediatrician's office or going for a doctor's appointment or doing work from home kind of gives you that
balance.
That balance. It's really nice in that way. And we always tell our people, we're like, look, I don't care if you have a doctor's appointment or you have something you need to take care of. Just let your manager know. So if we're, put it on your calendar so you're blocked out so we don't think you're here. You can make it private. I don't care where you're at. But, and let your manager know you're not going to be around.
Yeah, it's like an hour break. You're just going to have to work an extra hour when you come back, but we're all good kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's just like I can't consistently have you work nights.
Right.
Right.
So I'm curious then with the scheduling like that. Do you think maybe some employees it's like a startup where it's like, as long as you get in your 8 hours, I don't care if it's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 2 hours in the evening, plus whatever, as long as you get your hours collectively together. Do you think that would also work?
I think in some ways we are like that, but about half of our company is development, right?
Okay.
And as a developer, it's hard to like code in those kind of, like, I don't know. To me personally, when I sit down and I write code, and I don't do it as much as I used to by any stretch, but I need like a good couple of hours where I'm just dedicated to just coding, right?
Okay.
And I can't just like, I'm going to stop here, I'm going to come back and everything. But I don't think it's a bad thing, but sometimes you can't have ADD all the time. And like, I mean, I don't mean to sound mean to people with ADD, but like it can become distraction, right? Because like you get into a groove when you're working.
You do.
And then to like have it upset and then come back. And, I feel like there's sort of kind of ramp up time to work. Like, okay, what am I going to work on? Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I think if you keep, it's sort of disruptive if you keep having this like jump betweens.
Yeah. I was just curious because that was another thing people are talking about. Like, oh, this actually, like you can work in the morning, a little in the evening. And it's just one of those, I'm like, that you work in the morning, you're going to lose all your steam and momentum to even try in the evening.
That's kind of how I feel. Like maybe if it works for you, I feel like you got to work with people, right? Everybody sort of works differently. And if you're super productive and you can work like that, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, have fun. So then I'm curious, because the biggest one I've noticed in general with people, but it might just be a human thing, is communication. How do you get people? What are your methods of communication with your employees and customers?
So it's you'll laugh at this, but a lot of times we've never even met our employees.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm laughing because like, oh wow, that's interesting kind of thing.
And I think that's and I have they talk about like implicit bias in interviews and things like that. So I try actually not to have cameras on in interviews because I don't necessarily want somebody's race or somebody's something or other in their room, or they're this or they're that, to add to any kind of bias we might have in their hiring process. Because I want to have like a very diverse company. And I want us to kind of judge a little bit slightly blindly. I mean, we're not completely blind, but I like that. And it's actually served us well. So, but so then we meet, so then people start, and we use Teams. We're big Microsoft shop. Okay. We use Teams a lot. And prior to the pandemic, nobody ever wanted to video conference. Because remember, we've been doing this for like 15 years. We would always have conference calls, remote sessions, we use WebEx a lot. Yeah. We used to call it Zoom like the poor man's WebEx. And then Zoom became like the huge thing. And we're like, oh my God, like we missed the boat completely because Zoom just became so much better. But and Zoom's like quite good now.
It is.
But we used to always, and no one ever turned on their camera. So we would have like a once a month meeting. So once a month, we're going to have our corporate meeting, and everybody's going to turn on their camera, and everybody's going to get to know each other, and we're going to have talking, and we're going to have fun. And then otherwise, we just kind of have group channels. We have client-specific channels where we talk. We kind of have a manager channel where we talk a lot as managers. And I try not to get too meeting heavy in the corporate level because we're pretty meeting heavy in the client level. Like I'm very meeting heavy with my clients. So I'm probably and a lot of my clients are on Teams and things now too. But most of the time, like 90% of the time, I'll be in meetings with my clients. So I have to be able to DM my employees like all the time. So I'm always instant messaging everybody. And we're pretty good in Teams. Like we're very good in Teams, and it's kind of saved us. From a project perspective, we use Asana a lot, and like the Kanban boards for like project management and to track comments and things. And that's been actually a really great way to collaborate.
What was that again? Asana?
Asana. Have you ever used like Trello or Asana?
No.
These are great products, and they're very addictive. If you're slightly OCD, like once you start using them, you're going to be like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? I had one for my home reconstruction because I needed that to keep all the moving parts and pieces together.
So what was this? So Asana and Trello?
Trello. Yeah. So ASANA is one brand. And then there's another one called Trello.
I'm gonna have to look these up later. All right. Yeah, I've been working through this whole pandemic. So we did grocery store people. We're not just like, oh, you can go on your Zoom calls and stock the floor things. Like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work at all.
If we had a robot, I'd be like, okay, little robot, go up here now. But we're not even there yet. That's too expensive.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So then that would make sense, the communication, how you've worked that in, because you have your Teams and then Asana to keep tabs on anything HR related and all that. That's cool. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Kind of thing.
Really look into Asana. Okay. I guarantee you're going to love it. And it's a fantastic product.
That's wonderful. I love these recommendations because they usually work out 100% of the time.
Yeah. We've been at this for a while, and as consultants, I think we're incredibly picky because we're used to picking software apart. Mm-hmm. Because we're used to having to make recommendations and QA and test and, give our thoughts on everything. And it's funny because like whenever we go and buy a product, we'll meet with the product managers or whatever initially, and they'll be like, oh, do you want to enter our beta testing projects? And we're like, yes, we would like to give our input because we want to make this product better because we want it to work for us.
It's like,
So we end up
also
being
like
in a
critiquing
lot of the
people.
beta testing products.
Yeah, it's like we love critiquing people too, just for fun.
Just software, not people. Just software.
Just
Only
software.
software.
People is like, no, different level coding. Can't do that one. So that's interesting. So then do you get a discount if they do a beta kind of thing? It's like, oh, since you're beta, we'll knock off like 20% a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And especially for you guys, it's just like, oh, sure, we'll save money. Just put us there.
Yeah, I'll give you feedback. I'll meet with you once a month and talk to you. Yep.
It's like, yep, 20% off deal. You just only once a month kind of thing.
Yeah, no, by all means.
That's awesome. So then what are some of the bigger trends? Because I remember when COVID first started, what city are you guys in?
So I'm in Miami.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But we are across the country. So we certainly have some pockets of more people, but so we have a pretty good group in California. So I started the company in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Then I moved to Miami 9 years ago, almost.
Was it just for the view or for the taxes?
There are a couple of reasons. Taxes was a huge part of it.
Yes.
Cost of living, like I could live in a very nice neighborhood in Miami for like a shack in Silicon Valley.
No, that'd be another 3,000 just for the shack itself.
And like Miami's not a particularly cheap city. But like compared to California and Silicon Valley, and it's only gotten worse. So, there is that. And also I need a city with vibrancy and culture, and Miami has that. Silicon Valley didn't. You have San Francisco, but San Francisco is different than the Valley. And it's a pain to get into San Francisco. And if you think the Valley's expensive, try moving to San Francisco. And then you're just like, well, that's where I lived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, we lived in Sunnyvale and San Jose and stuff. Yeah. So we were like true Silicon Valley people. And now it's funny because there's this like Twitter. If you ever go on Twitter, you're going to see this, like Miami's trying to recruit all these Silicon Valley people. And I'm like, man, I came here early. Like I know the plan. I came here 9 years ago. I know how it works. I know where you should go to school. I know where you should live. I know how to migrate from the Valley. I should be an expert in that.
I want to say that should be your second business, helping Silicon Valley migrate over there. And someone would pay for it too.
Oh, in Miami for sure. For sure.
Yeah, the only reason I brought up San Jose is I had to help this one lady go from like above Oakland, like San Jose, Oakland area, come back down to LA. And it was one of those, I didn't realize it until I looked up the place afterwards. It was like one of these super rich billionaires was her neighbor. I'm like, so-and-so's business, you just next to them. Oh yeah, that's perfectly normal, huh? And if they don't have a Ferrari, that's their POS, they're like, you're not allowed here kind of thing. I'm like, where do you get this money? But yeah, that was her thing. And it was just like, yeah, like she pointed up to another hill. She's like, the Twitter CEO is over there. And I'm like, I thought he was over in a different country. They're like, or a different city. She's like, he has like a house in every country, like every state in every country. He's like, he has so much money. He doesn't even know what to do with it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's Miami too. Like I could just point to like all of these people, and it's crazy.
That's awesome. So then, I'm actually out of questions for the stay-at-home part. I'm more curious about Miami. Unless there's topic
about Miami.
I want to say unless there's different topics
Miami's
I missed.
Fine.
So then for Miami, because I don't think I even went to Miami. I went to the Harry Potter world when it first started.
Oh, Orlando.
Yeah,
that's Orlando.
That's that part of the
No, I feel like Florida is like Miami or nothing.
Really?
For me, for sure. I mean, I will take my children to Orlando when I need to, but I don't particularly like any other part of Florida. Like maybe the Keys, but it's like
Okay. Yeah, the Keys are like a poster card everywhere.
Yeah, the Keys are cool. But Miami is where it's at.
Okay. I did not know that because I've talked to 2 other people in Florida and they talk about Cape Canaveral. No, it's
where
not Cape.
Where NASA is?
Yeah.
Okay.
They said they're from there and the other one's on the other side by the Gulf.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, those are like the areas in Florida you want to go. Where like the hurricanes are not going to get you kind of thing.
But the hurricanes get the Gulf Coast all
I
the
know.
time.
I was sitting there going,
like,
oh, that's just because I guess whoever the guy is by the NASA one, he's like, it's a smaller % chance. That's why they put it there. But he's like, it's still like,
yeah.
I can randomly just get a hurricane. I'm like, yeah. And especially with all this climate change and global warming, your hurricanes are getting extra fun now.
Yeah, but like Florida doesn't necessarily always believe in climate change.
It's like, you're warming up. Great. We're doing more.
Yeah.
So then I am curious with this, your business. Is there something in particular I missed that I didn't question kind of thing? Because I feel like I'm just sitting here rambling like an idiot. Is there certain aspects you want to go over kind of thing?
No, I mean, I think that you got a lot of it, like working from home is just awesome. And what's funny is like I asked my employees and I'll tell you the common answer is
Okay.
that it's an introvert's dream.
Oh, it is.
Because there's so many people out there. Like I'm not particularly an introvert, as you probably have picked up on. And, but even myself, I sort of like that I don't have to like go and put on a show every day.
I agree.
Yeah,
not to worry about the office dynamics. If you're wearing the same outfit as yesterday, did you forget to put your makeup because Lucy's going to say something kind of thing?
Right. What clothes are you wearing?
Yeah. Compared to when you're at home, other than the boss just making sure you're working, like for a dude, we could have a full on mountain man beard and no one knows the better.
Yeah. And no one really cares. Like I feel like a lot of the water cooler, the gossip, all of that kind of like dissipates. And, so a lot of our employees, they've never met each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So normally in November, we kind of all have this like conference and we bring everybody together and they all get to meet each other. And so once a year, we tend to meet each other. So we sent out the survey to our employees about like employee satisfaction and things. And when they describe the company, it like makes like one of those word picture things.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they call those. And you know what the number one word they always write in is family. And I think that's so interesting because here's this like group of people who are completely like pretty much just virtually connected, right?
Yeah.
And they have formed such good bonds that they feel like they're in a family. And they always describe it as the TempDev family. And so I think there are a lot of ways if you approach this in the right way and you're not too authoritative and you trust your employees enough, right. And you build in reward systems and you give good feedback and you have good conversations, I think you can build like a really quality company that kind of takes out a lot of the normal BS that a lot of companies have. Because we don't have a lot of internal fighting. One, I don't put up with it, but 2, I think it just doesn't happen naturally.
Yeah, because they're not. I feel the office fights, it's usually when you're there in person. It's silly to say when you're in person, but you wait till the person leaves, then you start the fight kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not even there, because it's like, well, I just assume they're working hard. Sorry, my dog's acting weird over there. It's just you assume they're working hard, so it's like kind of like a joke with my coworkers because they know I'm studying business and eventually trying to figure out a way out of the rat race, and they're like, what do you think our problem is? I'm like, we don't talk. We may be in person, but we don't talk to each other. We assume we're all enemies kind of thing. And they're just sat there. I'm like, I'm like, if I was to build something, that's not what I would build kind of thing. Because then it's all it is just everyone's literally trying to figure out how to throw fruit in the other person's face compared to actually getting the job done and be like, oh, hey, so-and-so did a good job.
Right. And building as a team, we used to do like employee of the month and have people like nominate each other.
Interesting.
And it sucked.
Really?
Yeah, totally. We would get the same people every month. And then sometimes we wouldn't even get people and we would have to like beg for nominations and everything. It was just a total pain in the butt. And so we were kind of like, what can we do to make this better? So I found Bonusly. And
okay.
It's like a point system, but you sign all your employees up for it. And they each get like an allocation of points and they can give it to each other. And then there's like an API with Teams. And so there's like a Teams channel. And so everybody can see each other giving each other points and like raving about each other. And I think because it's like coming from their peers and it's not like Laura, the CEO, saying, oh, this person deserves employee of the month, or the manager's choosing who deserves it, or voting this or voting, it's just like consistent rewarding. And it's not like on a regular basis. It's like, hey, somebody did something awesome. Let's reward them. And it's always going. People are always talking about each other. People are always bragging about each other and giving kudos to one another. And it's just, I feel like it makes people just feel so good about themselves. And then they can like trade in the points for like Amazon cards, or they can donate them to charity. They can do all kinds of things with the points. So the points have value too. Mm-hmm. But a lot of our employees don't actually trade them in that often. I think they just prefer the kudos.
The instant feedback, like, you're doing a great job, here's some points. Yeah. It's like, thank you, kind of thing.
Yeah. And you get like really fun GIFs too, which is always a good.
That's the best. That's as close to the sticker as you can get.
We are a very GIF friendly company, I will say. Like, a lot of our chats have a lot of GIFs related to them.
Those are the
That's
best,
how we conversate.
My one buddy does it all the time. Like, hey, how are you doing? He just sends a GIF of him waving back. I'm like, dude, like, okay, fine. I just start messaging you, like, so I send random moves waving back to him.
Yeah.
That's cool. So actually, the Bonusly, that was the biggest one I was trying to figure out on the side, was like, if I do a start on like the work from home from everyone, mm-hmm. how would it, because I like that system where you're critiqued by your peers, but in a positive and sometimes negative, depends, but it's not a bad negative. And it's just, how do you, the whole bonus system where it's like, oh, you did this, so like you did really good for a month and a half and you hit our projected thing, whatever, like here's like a Grubhub for a pizza kind of thing.
Right.
So is that how it works also, or is it just mainly they cash in their points and you figure out from there?
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of likes something different too, is what I've noticed. Okay. I mean, so I love Goldbelly. I don't know if you've ever used Goldbelly.
Don't know what it is.
Okay. Goldbelly is this great site. And it's like, like when you go to cities and they're like, oh, you need to try the ice cream at such and such in this city, or you need to go and you need to have the cake from this place and you need to have these cupcakes. You know how people always say that when you travel? Mm-hmm. So Goldbelly is essentially a site that went and found all those restaurants and you can like ship that stuff to people.
Whoa, what?
So it's like the best of, and it's like great for small businesses too. So I think it's great to give them a shout out. But yes. So it's like they went to all the small businesses who do like the best culinary stuff in like particular cities, and you can like ship them and stuff. So we do that for like all of our employees' birthdays and like anniversaries and things. Like, we make sure that we're like making sure they know they're like appreciated from us as like a company. And that's sort of how we do that piece. Like, oh, you did like a really great thing, like from us corporation wise. Like, that's how I do it personally. And sometimes I'll just do Bonusly, like for people who are kicking butt. But that's, I kind of prefer food. But yeah, everybody's sort of different, right?
They are, yeah.
And that's why I like Bonusly, because they can use it for whatever. Like when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was happening, I mean, I think it's still happening.
Yeah, it's just not as loud.
This summer when it was like really intense, you could donate all your points to like the NAACP and like the defense funds and stuff like that. Our employees were like pouring all their points into those things.
That's awesome.
So I think it's just like a really cool way for them to kind of give in ways that they might not necessarily be able to, or just in another way. So I think that, people choose to use these points for different things. And I like that.
So is there a correlation for you for the donation, like 1 point, $1 kind of thing?
It's like, I forget what they correlate. It's Bonusly's way of doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they just charge us, like we like pay like X fee per month or whatever for all the points.
That's it?
Yeah. I think when they cash it, it's when they cash it in that we pay. And then there's like an annual subscription fee.
I was saying there's the flat fee of what, like $200-300 for the year, and then whatever during the month for them.
Yeah, and it's not expensive.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it's like integrated with our HR system, and it's integrated in with Teams, so people can kind of really quickly see what's going on.
And Asana is your HR and like
oh no, HR we switched.
Okay.
We're using Rippling now. Rippling.
Okay.
We were using, so HR is always fun in a remote company. Because one of the advantages of remote work is you can hire from anywhere. Right. And I mean, I keep it within the US.
Yeah, then it gets really complicated if you're trying to hire out.
I'm not trying to hire outside of the country. I'm keeping it US based. But the country is my oyster as far as talent. Yeah. Do you know what that opens up? Like, especially we're super niche business. So having that ability to recruit from anywhere is huge. However, this is also 50 states and 50 states regulations you have to then deal with. And oh my gosh, it gets so complicated because look, no state is the same. Everybody has different unemployment insurance. Everybody has different rules here and rules there. And so to keep track of that and to keep track of benefits management and everything else, you got to have like a modern HR system. So we've been using Rippling. We recently switched to it. It's good. No complaint. I mean, it's an HR system. It's not like
it's not supposed to be flashing.
It's not jazzy.
So that's actually another one. This is just super informative for me. I bet a lot of people are going to get value out of this because it's like you said, you could hire anywhere in the U.S. And I think Puerto Rico, Guam, and something else you can hire. Technically,
Puerto Rico's tricky because of the taxes in Puerto Rico. Because remember, they don't like fall in the same federal tax place. Yeah. So we haven't ventured
to Puerto Rico
there yet. But I'm not opposed to it, but we haven't figured that one out yet.
Because it's tricky because I joke with my parents. I'm like, when I finally get to that point and it's online, I'll just go to Puerto Rico for like 6 months, one day. Then all my taxes just 4%. But
then I think you have to keep the business within Puerto Rico, I believe.
Yeah. You have to form the LLC. You have to have all that. And it's just one of those, I don't need to do it. I'll just move to like Texas instead or Florida.
Or Florida. I happen to think Florida is much better than Texas, quite frankly.
I'd rather deal with hurricanes than freeze outs.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, Texas gets hurricanes too. They get the Gulf hurricanes.
Oh, well, then done.
I don't need Harvey?
Right? I don't need my big guns and big stakes. I just go to Florida. Well, it's just Party City right there. So then, as far as the HR and stuff, what's the see, I'm going as fast as I can.
It's okay.
How can someone looking from over your shoulder be like, she may use Ripley, but maybe I prefer the integration of like Asana with this. how do you, for their computer, like how do you accommodate, or it's just like, these are my rules, you stick by them kind of thing?
Well, so for HR, so Asana's project management only. Asana won't handle HR. Correction, excuse me. So Rippling handles like HR functionality. I think there's not many competitors out there. Rippling and Zenefits are kind of the two big ones, I think. I think there may be another one.
Okay.
And they're just kind of these like HR conduits. I feel like you partner with an insurance broker, which owning a company, and dealing with insurance is so much fun. So much fun.
So then Ripley takes that headache out of the way?
Yeah, I mean, they help kind of organize it, right? So you meet with the broker, and then the broker has access into Rippling. Like they're different companies and they're different groups, but they have access, and so they can like load your health insurance benefits and your vision and your life insurance and anything, any of the benefits you offer. So you can kind of load that in, and then when you hire somebody, you have all the documentation, and then they handle all the payroll. Right? Because payroll.
So Rippling handles payroll too?
Yeah.
Does it do all the taxes for them, or is that like a set?
Yeah, I mean, you help figure out the taxes, but yeah, it helps you figure out taxes too.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I bet every like business owner right now is like, God, thank you, they do payroll kind of thing.
Payroll's fun.
Yeah. It's just so much fun.
It's weird. Like it's always funny because I feel like I don't really personally, like in my personal life, think much different between states, right? Like you're like, whatever state, like, it's not like you really ever think like, oh, there's so much difference between here and there. Like, cause we can transient, right? We can live wherever we want. And it's not like people speak a different language. It's not like the food's grossly different. It's not like the culture's dramatic. It's not like Europe where like you go from, France to Germany and you're in this totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you move from Florida to Texas. However, taxes, payroll, HR, in a corporation world, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, you need a full
like my
team
taxes are like this every year. They're insane because we have to pay taxes in every state we have a client or an employee in.
Oh shit! I didn't think about that. Oh, that must be really fun at the end of the year. You just get that like laundry list. It's like, all right, well, it's that time of the year. Accountants.
Oh yeah, I have to just have a glass of wine and like look through my taxes and just have like some quiet time. I cry a little.
It's like
and then I go read that like these massive corporations don't pay any tax, and I'm like, I hate you.
Right?
I hate you. Yeah.
It's a benefit of
clearly I'm doing something wrong.
Apparently it's a benefit for having a freaking 10 accountants in one firm, and you have to pay them $100K a year, but they save you like 20 million.
I would pay $100K a year to not pay tax.
Right? So our only problem, we got to go public, then we can afford all that.
Right. Yeah, so I'm 100% owner of my company, so I'm not sure I ever want to go public.
Yeah, because then a lot of rules would change and it's not fun.
Yeah, I don't like being my own boss. I don't like reporting to other people. I always get these investors like it's when you're on LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the CEO, and when you're on your website, you're the CEO and you're the owner, and all these like private equity groups and all these investors, they're all looking to buy somebody. Everybody wants to buy somebody. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I just should put on my profile, like not for sale, like
you might as well.
But then, hey, like maybe like the right price. But I mean, it would have to be really, 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 really high.
It's like I can retire and drink my
Everybody has a number. This is what I've learned in life. Everybody has a number, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will be somebody. I will be an employee for some number. I could do that. I could make it work for a couple of years for a certain number. But you get constant inquiries. Oh, could I buy your company? Could I buy your company? Why?
I was like, are you that lazy you don't want to start it yourself?
Right? So I'm just going to work for you and you're going to give me what?
A fraction of what I actually make?
And by the way, I started this company and I ran it for 15 years and you think you're going to, and I have plenty of capital. So you think you're going to come in and do it better than me? Like, even though you're buying me, like, and then they're men and they want to mansplain to you, like what an investor means. And you're like,
I'm sorry. That's that must just be universal everywhere because that's just too funny. They're like, yeah, I'm an investor. I bought into Tesla when it was $400. It's like, shut up.
I'm like, yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
Oh, we had Bitcoin convention here last week in Miami. Oh my God. Oh my God. Have you ever noticed none of your friends who are actual engineers own Bitcoin? Or maybe they own a couple as a joke.
Yeah. They bought it when it was like $100 and they had whatever kind of thing. Now they're just
and they're like, whatever. The only people that own it are hype people.
Oh, yeah.
They're all hype people.
They are. And it's so funny. All my coworkers are like, oh, they're trying to get into these new obscure like
Doge.
No, Doge is so old school to them now. They're trying to get into Titcoin backed by the power of Pornhub and browser.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what? Okay, how do you measure it? They're like, by the power of the porn industry. I'm like, okay, you still didn't tell me a measurable rate kind of thing. Like, why are you putting half your retirement into that thing?
Yeah, well, so I don't know if you know, Bitcoin is completely like, and they always talk about this, right? So super unsustainable on an electricity perspective,
it is.
Right? It already takes up something like 0.5% to 1% of the world's consumption of electricity, just Bitcoin alone, right?
It does.
And so I think this is really strange that the city that's almost underwater, you know, Miami, like the mayor is like all about crypto. Dude, like you're escalating the issue.
Right.
And I love that I think Elon just like wants to just mess with markets.
I think he does. Honestly.
I think he just wakes up and he's like, who should I mess with today? Like who should I do? Like
what are you gonna do? Take my money away? You can't do that.
Right. Like it's like, oh, you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. Oh no, wait, I just discovered it takes a lot of electricity. No shit. Like every bit of good you've done with Tesla for the gas, you just undid with Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah, seriously. I was just one of those, I'm like, dude, you're like an engineer by how your brain works. You reverse engineer everything. You don't see like every day, I think it was something like it loses 0.4% of its actual value in energy, whatever its determined value. I'm like, run that long enough, technically that coin is negative. I was like, so you're going to, as a businessman, you're really going to buy that?
Right.
And I actually had like a kid, a 17-year-old. I literally just invited him to explain Bitcoin to me. Like I was dumb. I knew it, but I was just like, explain this to me. And he's like, it's going to be the future. Like, we're not going to even have phones. It's just going to be like a thing in your finger and you tap and you go. I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, technically phones are getting smaller and faster, but it's like, why would you give up that much privacy? He's like, because it's the future. I'm like,
so if you think this is the future, how is quantum computing not the future?
Right. As I told him,
I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, I'm not saying quantum computing is happening tomorrow, but if this is the future, pretty sure we figured out quantum computing.
Yeah, I'm going to say that small of a chip. It's like, dude. Then he's saying how NFTs are the new art. And I'm like,
I'm a big art collector. Art is like my jam.
Okay.
I love art. I think you can maybe see a little bit behind me. I
see
art.
a few good pieces back there. I see a couple wine bottles next to the coffee maker too.
Probably. Yeah. It's my bar in my office.
Love it.
And like it blows my mind because I've seen a couple of the artists I collect have cracked it big in NFT. And two of the artists I think right now might be the two top female selling artists in NFT. Maybe it's changed a little bit because the NFT market's kind of flying right now, but at least for a while they were. And I think I can buy, I don't know, 10, 20 pieces of real art for what these people paid in NFT for like some digital shit. But I do also question, I'm like, hey, does that mean my real art went up in value by these artists? Like, I wonder how much it's going to actually translate to the real art. And, by the way, I hope artists are laughing it all the way to the bank. Like, I hope they're just cashing that money in. And they're just making a fortune off of it. I hope so. Because I think it's just all hype too. Right. I think these markets just exist on hype. And I don't believe in hype.
I don't either. Well, and it's one of those, I think I read it the last 2 or 3 weeks, like something with NFT and Bitcoin wallet. Well, at least NFT wallets have gone from like, let's say 15,000 people to 3,000 people that are active. So they're like, the whole hype train's now over. It's those 3,000 people that bought the expensive stuff. And I'm like, we're just going to sit here now. So, yeah.
Well, even like if you look at like blockchain development, it's just like, if you look at like how many ads are for blockchain developers, I think they're just like tanking, like, like it's just like people are kind of, I think, moving along from that.
Yeah. And how I measure stuff, it's a weird thing. And I don't even know how to put it in a process if someone asks me to. I just look at the news, but I don't read it. But it's like, okay, I see now 5 Bitcoin in my my like news feed kind of thing. Bitcoin this, developer this, new altcoin that. I was like, okay, but then like 2 weeks later, I noticed, I'm only getting 1 now. And then 2 weeks later, it's like none. But that's when everyone's talking about it. I'm like, told them jokingly, this is when you need to sell, kind of thing. Like this is when everyone's talking about there's no media cycle for it. That's when you need to get the hell out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm apparently the old guy, and even though I'm 28.
I joke. So I think geriatric millennial, I think is what they decided.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I like that.
I'm a geriatric millennial, technically. So I'm like the first year millennial. And so I grew up in the hacking generation, right? Like I grew up in that world of like, I knew all those people. That was my people back when I was really young. I knew them, that's who I knew in high school. Mm-hmm. None of them have Bitcoin.
No.
You want to know why? Like, if these people don't, because they're all like, they all have real jobs now. They're all like, we're all like friends and we share pictures of our children and we all just live like, good, normal lives now. They're not doing it.
No, because they don't.
And these are people who are your inventors of technology. And so unless they're charging these hype people for building it, which, hey, by all means, like make a pretty penny off of it. I don't really care.
Right, business is business.
Yeah, business by all means, right? You don't have to worry about that with me, but they're not. It's not where they're investing.
No, and it's amusing to me because I started a Roth because I realized my company doesn't offer retirement till like 10 years with them. I'm like, I'm going to start early, kind of thing. But everyone's like, oh, you need to buy Tesla. And I'm like, I'm going to buy real estate kind of thing. It's like, it's not fun. None of you talking about it. I feel like
it's you should have bought Tesla when it IPO'd, right? Like that's like, now it's like, I don't know if you get the benefit of Tesla now.
There's too overvalued. What is it? Like, what's the percentage to it?
It's funny. My daughter, I bought, my children, I bought them stock for their birthdays.
Oh, that's cool.
When they were born. And so I bought Tesla for them really early on. And I think my daughter's has gone up 2,300% since I bought it for her.
Its PE as of right now, because the market's just about to close, is 611 PE, price to equity. There's no sane reason to buy that. No.
Especially because, so I actually own a Tesla. Ooh. I'm a big Tesla lover. Huge Tesla lover. Okay. Tesla nut. And I will never own another car. Well, maybe, but like for now I won't. But so I ordered my Tesla.
That Ford?
No. I ordered my last Tesla. I ordered my new one in December. I switched to the Plaid when it got released in early February.
Okay.
You know when it's shipping? September.
Shipping?
September.
They're that sold out?
No. They're that behind in manufacturing.
Oh, oh man.
I'm not getting my car for 9 months. Think about how much lost profitability that is. And by the way, I'm like going to get like my ass handed to me on stock. People where I'm like, but that's like,
No,
I've seen that on Twitter too.
No, that's like the PE. That makes no sense. I actually had like a market guy come on. Actually, I'm talking to his hedge fund manager that he works with later on. Apparently, hedge fund manager, by the way, we have to say opportunity acquisition or something else. It's not hedge fund. That's the new PC, but it's like whatever. But he was even saying, price to equity doesn't even matter anymore. I'm like,
I don't think it
does.
I don't even think taking on debt matters anymore.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
Because like, especially with COVID, that spun so many cycles out of order.
But I have a meeting. It was nice talking to you.
It was a pleasure. Sorry about keeping you too long.
No.
Definitely got to get you on in the future.
For sure. Anytime.
Wonderful.
Love to talk again.
Be good, Laura. Bye-bye.
You too. All right. Bye.
Well, congratulations. You made it to the end. You're an awesome person. Not many make it here. So, being the awesome person that you are, can you do me one more awesome favor? Can you rate and review this on whatever podcast services you're using? If you do it on Apple and you leave an actual written review, I have a thing on my website. I will take your written review and post it for all to see. Congratulations, you're permanently sealed on my site. Otherwise, I am trying to do YouTube more and live streaming. I will try to put as many of the YouTube links in the description of the show as I can. So give your boy some extra help over on YouTube. Watch my videos. I just mute it and change the channel, change the window or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for being awesome and see you next time.